Hi, guys. I think it's all guys. It's
Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Tim
What have we
and
got?
Mike and Alpha Juliet. AJ is there.
Oh,
Ah,
hey, AJ.
excellent.
I was having a
Hi.
discussion with Alpha Juliet right after the recording of Opposing Bases this morning. He
Oh,
said
there
he
you go.
was in Pensacola last week.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So he said, your timing was optimum. And I said, yes, it was. Mission accomplished.
So you haven't been able to connect with anybody there this week?
Not yet, but that's okay.
No,
I
that's
just
okay.
thought I'd throw it out there,
And
see
no,
if
no,
anybody's
no
down here.
Blue Angels flying over, giving you an air show.
No,
or
I
anything?
haven't seen any of that activity either here.
Uh-huh.
This
Okay.
end of their season, really, isn't it? Do they?
Yeah, I think it is. That's what I was telling
Yeah.
Liz, that they probably don't practice anymore because they've been doing nothing but performances.
They're just too
Yes.
damn perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they are pretty good, I must
they
admit.
they know they're inspiringly good. So everybody, it's going to be the oldies for a little bit, and then Steffi's going to join us, and Nick may go off to bed at that point. He's been under the weather a little bit.
Yeah.
No, but we are going to try and get his plain tail in before he departs. We got a plain tail in the can here waiting.
Well, yeah, that'll make me do another one then. I'll have
Well,
a
So,
deadline.
so do we want to try to do all of these news items?
no. It's don't just choose what you want.
So which one? Okay. Okay, definitely the aerial refueling will be
Aerial
something to-
refueling. I would say aerial
Aerial.
refueling.
refueling. And
I would say D, we hold off in case we want to do it with Steffi, just because it's a student pilot and stuff. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
and
The
Oh,
Qantas.
yes.
The
That's the
Qantas.
bloke that got a bit angry and wrecked
Yeah.
all the flight school
Yeah,
aeroplanes.
he had a little
How
bit of
he
a
thought that was going to help his case, I do not
Yeah,
know.
that-
little bit of a
that's-
snit.
yeah,
I
that
would
doesn't
I
seem
would-
like really good behavior.
I would don't
no.
think he's got the temperament to be a pilot. Do you?
You think?
You think?
So here, I'm looking at your paperwork and I see that you were arrested for destroying several aircraft in your flight school.
Yeah.
Um,
Bye bye.
That kind of reminds me of the story of I'm trying to think,
Eva.
it was an F-104 squadron in Italy, and one of the guards one day, all the aircraft were lined up on the pan. They had their pitot probe. I think it was an F-104 coming out of the nose, and one of the guards decided he was going to wandering around getting bored. He was going to do some chin-ups on the pitot
Oh
probe.
no. No.
And of course, he bent it. And he then went, oh, bloody hell, it looks so obvious, this one bent pitot probe amongst the whole line of not bent pitot probes. So he went down and bent all the others so they all look the same in the hope that
Oh
no one
my
would notice.
God. I thought you were going to say he broke it off.
No,
Wow.
I think
but this is where?
this was in Italy.
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 There's your friend Eva that drove you home from the meetup
Hello,
in
Evie.
London. Hi, Eva.
Evening,
Hi.
y'all. She's trying to be like all Southern.
Yeah.
Oh, folksy.
exactly. She got a little cowboy in there too.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, guys.
Yeehaw, Eva.
Yeah, I gotta get.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. Are we almost ready to get this show on the road?
Excuse
Yeah,
me while
you
I whip
bet.
this out.
I love that voice. Excuse me while I whip this out.
Okay. Let me check and
Yes.
see the intro page here, and we actually have a real intro, so I don't have
We
to
do?
make
You don't
anything
think- yeah.
up.
Well, thank God for that. It'll save
I
10
know.
minutes.
That's so true. Thank God for that.
Take 10 minutes.
I do appreciate your confidence in me, though, Captain.
We do.
Well,
Um,
you got out of the habit.
And you need your countdown there, Jeff. Have you
recorder.
got your recorder on? Yeah.
I know, I just saw it too. Recorder is. Oh, shoot. Damn it. Hang on.
Okay, everybody, send positive thoughts that Jeff's bandwidth stays robust.
Yes. We're hoping. Fingers crossed and all that jazz. Okay.
Alpha Juliet says your volume is low, especially when you lean back from the mic. So don't lean back from the mic.
Well, obviously it's going to be low when I lean back from the mic. Duh. But thank you for your
Well, Eva does say you're
criticism.
quieter compared to Nick and I.
Okay. Well, then let me talk louder.
That's a good idea. Be more positive, Jeffrey.
Let me bump up the
volume. iHall Boxes came back
Later.
for more punishment after Saturday.
Wow.
After Saturday's
My.
fiasco.
Jesus.
Doesn't know when to quit.
He does not.
No, he and Tim.
Okay, how's that? Is that better, AJ?
iHall, AJ, anybody? Eva?
Is Mike Kuipers with us?
He
No?
is. Yeah, he
Okay,
is.
great. And I did update the
Website?
the website YouTube page, I think. So should see Micah maybe.
Micah, maybe.
Micah maybe. Micah maybe
That's his
not.
new name.
This is
Eva's saying
Not
not much
much better.
better. Sorry, Jeff.
okay. Wow. Sounds a lot louder to me.
Don't be sorry, Eva.
Stick your mic
Yeah,
in.
we want the lowdown, the honest truth. Jeff
Straight
could be louder,
goods.
Mike Kuiper says. Okay. Let me go into here then, see if that
Talk,
does
Nick.
something.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. Now, if Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper,
No.
where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked?
Excuse me?
Yeah.
You are excused.
Hello. Check. Peter Piper picked a
Chest.
peck of pickled peppers. Hello.
Yes, I
Chest
agree.
levels are
iHall
slightly
box
low.
is and a bit
And
hollow.
a bit hollow.
He's
Oh, I
right.
wonder if-
There is a bit of a funny sound to your mic, I gotta say.
Oh.
Well
You're
expressed.
on the
there,
right
iHall.
mic? Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But
Okay, it might be because I have noise assist on. Okay, let me
That's-
turn off. I hate doing it, but I might have to turn off the air conditioning. And
Oh,
then,
that's definitely quieter.
and
you
Because the
sound,
noise assist wasn't
you
really
sound
doing
better
much.
though, I think.
no, I haven't done anything to noise assist. I just turned off the air conditioning.
Well, your
It wasn't-
voice has become deeper and louder.
And better, yeah.
Yeah.
More bass. Sounds very mellow. Sounds gorgeous.
Oh. You two want to be
Hey,
alone?
man.
Right?
You're not supposed to walk but through my site here, sir. There's signs all over the place. He's ignoring the signs.
Do you want to
Well,
go
go
out
out there
and
and
get into a
harangue
fist
him.
fight with him?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, make sure you record it because we want something to laugh at.
Okay. So this is a lot better. How about the volume level?
Yeah, well, you better wait for the audience because
Okay. And you just
I
had a
think-
little
I think
bit
it
of a
sounds better.
Skypiness to yourself. So that's it's just starting. It's just starting. It's
Oh
going to
my
happen again.
God.
Okay, so
I
here's
thought you
yeah,
checked
this
it
is
out
good.
last night.
I know. Well, we did, and then there were periods where it didn't work very
Okay.
well. Just little tiny. It wasn't a bad thing.
It wasn't disastrous
But we
like
did.
Saturday.
But we did practice the turning off the cams like that, so you can still hear me.
Yep.
Yep.
And then if I'm having trouble hearing y'all, then I'll ask you guys to do the same, and then we can always throw up the APG logo, the Fly Acme
Right.
Cool.
logo, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
then it'll just be audio only,
Yep.
and hopefully that will help things.
Everybody's saying you sound better now, Jeff, in the chat room.
And the volume is better too.
Yeah. Sound better.
Okay.
Thumbs up. Sounds better.
All right. So you stopped your cam, Nick, but go ahead and do that again, but this time talk so we can make sure we can hear you.
Hello.
Unfortunately, we can.
You. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me.
Let me get the first video ready. That'll be
Yep.
one less thing to worry about.
Get your countdown ready, and then let's get going before we go down the tubes.
All right.
Yeah.
Is it under brand? Yeah.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 633.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of September 30th, 2024.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, the mouse that roared, forcing a Scandinavian flight to divert. And an angry student pilot damages 10 planes from his flight school. Also ahead, more news, your feedback, and today's plane tale. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and lock positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 633 is ready for pushback.
You're muted, Jeff.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news. Well, not long ago anyway, and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, former professional photographer as well, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Well, hi there, Jeff, and hi, Liz. 633, our current show. It would be remiss of me not to mention 633 Squadron, the amazing 1964 movie about a fictitious mosquito squadron. The first aviation film to be shot in colour and Panavision widescreen. It actually depicted several real-time attacks that had occurred during the Second World War, but none, unfortunately, from this squadron, which never existed. Still, great movie, wooden acting, but fantastic flying scenes.
Wouldn't you act in it? I would. All right. Thank you very much for the critique on the acting in the movie. Yeah, that's our new thing now. We're doing movie reviews. All right.
Well, yeah, we're going to put Mike out of business.
I know. Sorry, Mike. All right, we'll take a few steps back and give it back to you. And while we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and introduce from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer. It's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. We're hoping today is a go for the whole show with Jeff's bandwidth. So
Yes, fingers crossed. If you're a praying kind of person, put some prayers in there for us, and hopefully we'll make it through an entire show.
okay, have a good one, guys.
All right, Liz. We'll see you.
Is anyone giving us odds?
Probably. They probably got a little slush
book
fund or
going
some
there,
kind of a
right?
gambling pool back in the background, All right. Okay, let's do some news. Here we go.
Stand by for news.
All right, this first piece of news was sent to us from, well, it was actually sent to Captain Nick from Captain Al, and it involves botched aerial refueling. And so we're going to go ahead and take a listen to this video, which uses live ATC
we've got live
audio.
missiles on board the jet.
And I guess we can start it now. On 21st of August, 2024, Noble 42 and F-15 was seriously damaged during an aerial refueling with Wide 12 Boeing KC-46 near Santa Barbara, California during an air combat air patrol mission. Why did they think that I can read that fast? Let me back it up a little bit so I can give the whole thing. Do I read that slowly? Is that what's happening here? Am I losing my reading skills?
I think you can read with your eyes faster than you can say it, but do carry on
okay.
anyway.
So they're probably not expecting people to be talking out loud on a podcast. I did. Well, I did, but then now all of a sudden
it's back
advanced. Again. Okay, I'm in control of the video. Here we go.
You have control.
Okay. On 21st August or 21 August 2024, Noble 42 and F-15 was seriously damaged during an aerial refueling with Wide 12, a Boeing KC-46 near Santa Barbara, California during a combat air patrol mission, which was enforcing temporary flight restriction during a POTUS stay, President of the United States. The F-15 then diverted to Fresno with hydraulic problems, only to break the emergency runway cable twice and again divert to nearby Naval Air Station Lemoore. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and let this thing rip. All right. We're waiting for them to talk. Here we go.
Fresno Tower, Noble 42, emergency. Noble 42, Fresno Tower, report midfield downwind. Noble 42, roger, and confirm both the approach and departure end cables are strung on 29 right.
Roger, I'm trying to lift them at you both right now. The short field arresting cable is rigged in battery 1,500 feet from threshold, and so is the long field here.
Noble 42, copy. And Fresno, Noble 42, we're going to be visual straight into 29. And Tower, Noble 42, emergency, just letting you know here, we've got live missiles on board the jet.
Ooh.
Noble 42, roger, they're not hung, right? They're just live?
Affirm, just live missiles, not hung.
We'll have you pinned when you get off the runway.
Noble.
Yeah, Battalion 29, Noble 42 does have live missiles on board. They're not hung, but they are live, so we'll need someone out there to take care of them.
Noble 42, base 29 right, gear down, hook down.
Noble 42, right.
And I'd probably say by now emergency fuel, because there's only 15 minutes of fuel when I called it about 8 minutes ago.
Noble 42 on the go.
Noble 42, roger. I have the other cable available. Do you want to land long? Do you want to set up for 1-1 to take that one?
Noble 42, does the other runway also have?
This runway has the cable, but it's short field, so it's about, say, 1,200 feet from landing threshold runway 11. There's also Navy Lemoore 20 south, or 30 south.
How far is Navy Lemoore?
Stand by.
And do you have any strike, or F-15s airborne?
I have no F-15s airborne. At this time, Lemoore is bearing 180 at 29 miles. They have one good runway with C2 E28 bidirectional.
Copy.
Noble 42, stay with me. Do you want the, I also have the cable for 1-1 right. That one is 1-1 left. That's available as well.
Copy. What are the winds right now on 1-1 left?
Winds are 050 at 3. Winds calm.
Let's do it.
Sounds good. You want to set up for the straight in?
Affirm. We'll set up for the straight in.
Noble 11, roger. You can make a left teardrop into runway 11 left.
Copy. Confirm you have no chase aircraft airborne.
All right, other aircraft on 18-2. Everybody stand by for a second. Might have a Lemoore Hornet. They should be up here in a couple minutes. Can you wait that long, or do you need to land?
Say one more time until the Hornet.
Inspection first. If I can get a Lemoore plane, let's try that. How about a lower post over Bravo taxiway for gear inspection?
Aircraft 5-1, go.
Tower. Noble 42 emergency. Say that one more time. Our radio sucks.
Noble 42, if you want, you can do a low approach over 29 left or Bravo taxiway for an inspection, and I'm going to see if I can get you an F-18.
To the run-up area for Bravo 2, I got to have an F-15 do a low approach over taxiway Bravo for gear inspection.
We're going to check the tower. How far out is that F-18?
Tower.
Tower, sure. For one.
Cable break, or did we just... Odd question. Did the cable break, or did we just miss the cable?
I thought I saw you take it, and I think it snapped.
4-2.
Fresno ground, AR2.
AR2, I want to make sure you're clear of Bravo. I got an F-15 about to do a low approach on taxiway Bravo so we can do a gear inspection.
Update, Roger. Thank you. All aircraft on tower frequency are going to stand by.
Just shut up.
And Noble 42, we're approaching the airfield. Stand by for the check.
Noble 42, Roger, midfield, stand by.
Stand by.
Noble 42, what am I looking for? I got see the hook, and I'm looking at 3 down.
Copy, that's all we need.
Noble 42, Roger. Start your crosswind turn, and set up for runway 11 left.
All right, the AR vehicle calling, stay here. No, that was Airport Command. Go ahead.
Noble 42, stay fuel remaining in minutes.
We got about 10 minutes, 15.
Noble 42, Roger. Yeah, Lemore's on a 180 drive at 30 miles if you have to bolter again.
Visual confirmation for his gear and the hook. So you can proceed back on Bravo, but I believe they're setting up right now for the landing on runway 11 left to take you at approach end cable.
Noble 42, check wheels down, check hook down. It's already down. I've got to say it anyway. Runway 11 left for the land. Cable indicates up. Use caution, spotted cable, long field 10,000 feet from threshold.
Noble 11 copies. We've got gear down, hook down, caution for pods.
Noble 42, winds of calm. Noble 42, I have a flight of 2 F-18s for an inspection in case you need it, but for now, let's just plan for the landing.
42, say again, broken.
Noble 42, I have 2 F-18s inbound for inspection if you need it, unless you want to land now.
Noble 42, we're going to land right now.
Yeah, running out of fuel.
So we're able to get safely on the ground and go for it.
Noble 42, thank you. That's the plan. The F-18s are going to come to tower frequency. I'll handle it.
AR2, Russ, thank you.
42's last phase, 11 left.
Noble 42, Roger. Jerry, 11 tower.
42, gear down, hook down, full stop, 11 left.
Tower, Jury 1 flight is with you overhead, 725.
Jury 11 Fresno Tower, Roger. Continue down to Fresno 78 if you'd like. I have the F-15 3-mile final. He's going to try and take our second. If not, he's diverting to Navy Lemoore.
1 copies all. Remain overhead, Angel 7.5.
Jury 11, thank you.
Zero 1.
42, if you can't slow down a little more, that gear can't take anything over 180. 11, F-15 bolter. He's probably going to go to Navy Lemoore.
Bye. 01 copies all. I got him in sight on the touch and go here.
Roger. Noble 42, you want Jury 11 to escort you to Navy Lemoore?
Firm. Give me a vector.
Noble 42, Roger. Turn right, heading 180. Climb maintain 7,000.
42 emergency 180 7,000.
Jury 11, you can join up with Noble 42. He's going to climb to 7 on a heading of 180 to divert to Navy Lemoore.
11, I'm at your right at 10 o'clock, 7.5. Want to come up our tax frequency, 248.725.
42, the juries are heading to your right, descending out of 5,500. Do you have them?
Okay, we're looking.
Noble 42, 12 o'clock high. Jury 11, the F-15 is at your 6 o'clock in a mile and a half, Angel 3.7.
Got him in sight, stand by.
42, Lemoore is landing 32 and 14. Do you want a 14 straight in?
42, we firm.
5 Tango, Roger, stand by. Right now the runway's closed, we got a lot going on.
That was back at Fresno.
42, Fresno's going to be Lemore's landing runway 14 left. Expect the 14 left direction. The cable is about 1,700 feet from threshold. Jury 11's going to escort. Do you have them?
42 copies, 14 left, confirm IM6, roll good.
11 Noble has you in sight. Can you escort him to 14 left, please? I'll coordinate with Lemore.
Noble Hill.
Level 42, contact Lemore, approach 269.025. Jury 11, contact approach as well.
Aircraft 51, ground. Hey, do we still have the west end cable, or did that one snap as well? Both bounced? Okay, thank you.
Red 52 tower.
All right, calling ground, say again.
Red 52, proceed on runway 2 on the right. Are you going to do something with the east end cable?
Proceed on Alpha and Bravo.
Problem. Lemore's single runway. That F-15 is going to go take that arrested landing over at Lemore. Lemore's going to be foul. We're going to get a lot of fighters inbound. If you're able, just pull it off the runway and repair it later because I need the runway available.
Please try to pull those cables off the runway because they are taking, with Noble closing down Lemore's runway, all the Lemore fighters are coming this way.
Yikes.
Aircraft 52, thank you.
Aircraft 51, approved as requested on 29 right.
Okay. That was a jumble of...
what an exciting 10 minutes there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and so those, we're seeing, we're watching the video while we're listening to the live ATC audio. And so we're kind of getting a little bit better perspective. And so we recommend that you also look at the video if you're listening to the audio podcast to kind of get a better idea of what was happening here. But we're going to try to explain at least the way we understand it based on the depiction on the video and also the live ATC audio. But I guess, from the very beginning, Captain Nick, you have the fighter experience. It sounds to me like they were, the president was in town or somewhere out there on the West Coast, and they were providing support for that and the TFR and all that kind of stuff. And they were up there, the F-15 was up there, aerial, why do I have so much trouble with that word? Aerial refueling with a KC-46. And something, we don't have a lot of details on exactly what happened, but there was some kind of an incident with the boom or something. Do you know anything about that, Captain Nick?
No, I don't. I've no idea what parts of the F-15 are vulnerable to a boom strike, but by the sounds of it, they damaged some hydraulic systems. So it might be there are some hydraulic lines close to the receptacle that the boom plugs into, but exactly what, I don't know. I mean, I'm only guessing about that. But whatever it was, it appeared that he was going faster than normal, which kind of goes along with a hydraulic failure if you can't get your flaps down. Now, I don't know what flap configuration the F-15 lands in. I'm wasn't an F-15 driver, but it probably meant he was going much faster than normal on his approach. So he also seems that he's got a few radio problems and undercarriage indication problems. So he's unsure of where his gear is. Is it up or down or whatever? He wants confirmation of that. But regardless, he has a go at making an approach end engagement of the cable. Now, the cables are bi-directional normally. There are very few of the single direction cables around, but there used to be some. They were called CHAGs, chain arrestor gear, and they basically used old anchor chains and trailed them down the sides of the runway and then attached the wire to the ends of the chains. So as you engaged, you dragged the anchor chain along with you, which as you picked up more and more and more chain, it got heavier and heavier and eventually pulled the aircraft to a halt. That was fine, but it only worked in one direction, because if you had engaged it in the wrong direction, you got all the chain all in one go and it pulled the back of the aeroplane off.
That's no good.
Which would be embarrassing. So it sounds like he made one engagement, an approach end engagement, and bolted off that because the cable snapped. and by the subsequent conversation, we hear that the max cable speed is 180 knots. Now, if he's still got missiles, he hasn't got a lot of gas, but he's still got missiles on board because he's live missile armed. And by the way, yeah, you always declare when you've got live missiles if you're at a place where they're not used to dealing with it, or you need to have your missiles safed up after landing.
But I'm not sure. I may have missed this detail, but I think that these guys are actually based at Fresno. I think it's a joint use, like a guard, a reserve unit there. I'm not positive about this, but I think so. So I think that they were familiar, and Fresno, obviously, you could tell from the communications that they were used to dealing with military terminology and fighters and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But
yes,
I have a
they
question
did
for
ask.
you.
Yeah.
The term that he used, he said we have live missiles, but they're hung, or they're not hung.
No, the air traffic controller asked him if they were hung.
Okay. What does that mean?
And he said no, they're not. Well, a hung missile is one you've attempted to fire and it stayed on the aircraft. So that it's like a hung bomb. We would use the same term. You've tried to release the bomb, but it hasn't released. So it's potentially a lot more dangerous in its current state than it would be if it was just a normal missile. And obviously, I say obviously, it would be a very rare event if they'd had to attempt to shoot someone down. Defending the president, I think we'd have all heard about that. So, no, the chances of them actually having attempted to fire one of their missiles and having it hung as a result would be very rare. But that's where that term comes from. He was wondering if he had any of his missiles were hung, which means an added procedure where you have to sit and point the airplane into a safe direction for a long period of time until everyone's sure it's not going to go off by accident. So they broke the cable. Now I suspect I've got nothing much to base this on other than the fact they've got a hydraulic failure. They coming in for a fast landing because they may well be flapless, in which case 180 knots would not be an unusual approach speed, perhaps even faster. So I'm not surprised they broke the cable. Having said that, they then had another go at the, having done a visual inspection, flying down taxiway Bravo. The ops people there on the ground took a look and said that you got the hook and 3 wheels. Yep, okay, you're good. So he had to go at the other end and broke that cable too. So he's a real cable wrecker, this but I'm sure it's down to his approach speed. We know for a fact that he broke the first cable. The second cable, he might have actually just skipped it. I don't know. Bear in mind that the F-15 was not a carrier-based aircraft, so its hook is relatively lightweight compared with a naval aircraft. So something like the Phantom had an incredibly meaty hook. I mean, it was the size of my thigh, and had a big old hook on the end, and it was very stable. Air Force aircraft that just have a little hook for emergencies only, they are usually much smaller and skinnier because you're rarely going to use them. And it's only going to be for an emergency. For example, the Jaguar had a hook that you couldn't raise, you could only lure it. It was sort of sprung, and if you lured it too soon, they used to wear the hook off, rubbing along the ground before you got to the cable, which was a bit embarrassing. So yeah, I don't know how the F-15 cable compares with a Navy airplane, but it might be a relatively lightweight cable, in which case sometimes it's possible for it to bounce over the wire more likely than it would be for a naval aircraft. That's all.
And the other thing I was going to mention, the first cable was 1,700 feet from the threshold, and the second attempt, the second cable that they may have broken or perhaps just missed, was 1,200 feet. So I mean that's pretty tight, from the threshold to 1,200 feet, right? To get it right?
It is for us civil pilots, but for the military guys, we're quite used to putting it down on the piano keys, on the numbers. So
that shouldn't have been a problem then.
I wouldn't have thought so. These guys are pretty talented. After all, they're USAF trained pilots. Of course, they're going to be.
Oh yeah,
they can put it down on the numbers. Then the Hornets pitch up. And basically, the guys, he arrived and people were guessing he had 10 minutes of fuel. And now having broken 2 cables and faffed around for 10 minutes, he's still got 10 minutes of fuel left. But I suspect his 10 minutes of fuel now is a lot more accurate than it was when we started. Because he's speaking a lot faster and trying to get himself organized to head off the 30 miles to the naval base down the road. Which he does whilst being escorted by the F-18s, who are going to make sure he doesn't get lost on the way. And also they can do a quick visual inspection to make sure that his gear is down. But having effectively done 2 landings, because you'll be on the runway to do a cable engagement. So if his gear wasn't going to hold up, he would have known by then. But I suppose it's nice to have someone visually confirm that your gear and everything is down as it should be.
Yeah.
But it was exciting, wasn't it? I mean, he presumably got into Lemoore fine and didn't break their cable. I suspect the Navy cables are a bit more substantial than the USAF ones. I don't know about how you equip your bases, whether you get a different standard. But certainly at my old base up in Scotland, where we used to have Navy Phantoms based as well as Air Force Phantoms, they had a proper naval, they called it a PUAG, as opposed to a RAG, which was the Air Force version. And that was an amazing piece of kit. It could be automatically reset in seconds. So you could do an engagement, it would put tension on it, pull you back. You could, as you trickled backwards, you could raise your hook, and that automatically, because you were going backwards a few knots, would disengage the cable from your hook. And then you could put a bit of power on and taxi straight off, and then by the time you cleared the runway, they'd have got the cable back in position, and we'd be ready for another engagement. So that was a proper piece of kit, as opposed to the Air Force equivalent, which dragged about 1,500 feet of wire out and took about half an hour to reset.
Well, in this case, it sounds like he snapped those cables and they were like on the runway, and then the towers guy is thinking, okay, if he shuts down the Lemoore runway, then now we're going to have to deal with all these Lemoore fighters over here. So as we was telling that ground guy, don't worry about the cables now, just get them off the runway so I don't lose my runway.
Yeah, exactly right, which I think is good thinking on part of the controller. He realizes that he just needs a piece of concrete now to get anyone that's diverting from Lemoore onto the ground safely, and they think about fixing the cable another day.
iHall Boxes in our live audience says everything is more substantial in the Navy. Don't even bother about Army cables.
I didn't even know they had any. Yeah. There you go.
All right. Yeah, that was exciting. An exciting 10 minutes. All right. Okay, thank you, Liz. Okay, I think now we can continue on with this second news item, and this one is also another video. It involves a Lufthansa Airbus A320, and they have an engine failure just before takeoff. It says here, amazing video captures the moment when the A320-200 has an engine failure just before takeoff from Frankfurt Airport. The incident on the 27th of August occurred due to a bird strike, prompting the crew to return to the airport moments later. All right, so let me go over here, and I'll pop in this, and we'll probably start automatically playing.
Whoa!
failure. From what I remember, with a engine failure, like a V1 cut and that kind of thing, you want to not forget to raise your landing gear. You know,
Yes. Well, yeah.
But you know, when you're in the simulator, there's a very good chance that you kind of have an idea that what you're setting up for is going to be a V1 cut, an engine failure on takeoff. When it happens in real life, there's no instructor pilot kind of giving you hints that you're about to have an engine failure on your takeoff. So this is kind of a, you know, definitely a startle effect, right? And you're going, oh okay. And then, so I can see why it might be, you know, an issue or a distraction enough to make you forget that, oh yeah, positive rate, gear up. You know, that would have been helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a funny old thing. It's that positive rate call from the pilot that is not flying the airplane to indicate that he has seen you now climbing away from the runway on 2 instruments to confirm, and that it's okay to raise the gear. And it's his call of positive rate that usually clues the pilot that is handling the airplane to calling for the gear to be raised. Now, if you get an engine fault, and this looks like they might have taken a bird or something, but it looks like they've had the airflow into that engine disturbed, and it has surged or stalled. Now, there's a great tendency to start telling the pilot flying that you've got an engine problem. And that, of course, you then forget to give the positive rate call, which then means that you forget to bring the gear up. So that's often the cause for that. So we're taught actually just to say a simple engine failure. You don't tell them what the engine is or what you imagine the fault is or whatever. And then once you get that one little statement out of the way, you then carry on with all the normal calls until you're safely clear of the ground. So it would be positive rate, gear up please, gear up. And then once he's got the aircraft stabilized, he'll then ask for ECAM actions. So then you go into the drills. So that's probably what's happened here, I suspect. But it's a trap that we often fall into in the simulator. But it's a very nasty situation because we practice an engine failure at V1, which is just after our stop speed. So you know, you're committed now to fly because it is the most dangerous portion of the flight to have an engine failure. But because we practice it almost every time we go in the sim, engine failure at exactly that point, actually it's our most well-drilled engine failure emergency. Sometimes it's much harder to deal with an engine failure 1,500 feet in the approach or something. You know, there are other places where you can get them where you can be completely thrown. Well, what do you reckon we should do now? Whereas this, we know exactly what we're going to do.
Right.
So
that's kind of the danger, isn't it? Because there, you know, in the real world, we've had some issues dealing with engine failures at places other than where we're used to having them on the runway just past V1, and it gets a little tricky. And then that's why sometimes they start trying to bring in some of those scenarios in the simulator training just to say, well, you know, if you're at this stage and you lose an engine, let's see how you're going to handle it now. You know, so you have a little bit of an idea when it happens to you in real life. It's very confusing. And what's funny, I don't know about you, Captain Nick, but even for a standard V1 cut, I think early on when we're just getting used to flying, you know, transport aircraft and in the simulator and doing engine V1 cuts and that kind of thing, I know that I did. I have to raise my hand and admit that this has happened to me, where like you're flying along and going like your power's like way. I know you're supposed to have a lot more power, power requirement out of the remaining engine, but it's just like wow. I mean, it's really a dog. And then you come around, and then when you get to the point in the checklist when you lower the gear and you reach up for the gear handle and it's already down. Like, oh, that's why we were having so much trouble accelerating the airplane, and it was such a dog because we forgot to put the gear up when we were supposed to after the engine failure.
Yeah, and then you get the old, I think we'll do that again, shall we?
Yes, and the instructor pilots, and those of you out there listening, and you know what I mean, you see it and you go, okay, yeah, I see exactly what they've forgotten to do here, and this is going to be an interesting one, and I can't wait to hear their expression when they realize at the very end coming in for landing, oh yeah, okay, yeah, gear's already down.
So long as they don't raise the gear by accident.
Yeah, like doing the opposite.
I need to do something with the gear. Let's just put it up then.
Put it up.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, never did that, I have to say. Yeah.
Good. I'm very glad to hear that.
Well, good. I think,
but it's very
Liz,
dramatic, wasn't it?
Yeah, very,
bit of video.
very. Definitely a dramatic video, and they handled it well. It looks, except for maybe just the slight issue of the gear, but they probably eventually figured it out. Liz, you want to do the mouse? Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Which one is that? The
1F.
Thank you. F. Thank you. Okay. This from BBC.com. The Scandinavian, let's see, a flight was diverted after a passenger finds a live mouse in the meal. Not moose, mouse.
Yes.
Not chocolate mousse, no. The Scandinavian Airlines plane was traveling from Norway's capital, Oslo, to the Spanish city Malaga. Scandinavian Airlines, SAS, has said one of its flights had to make an unscheduled landing after a mouse scurried out of a passenger's in-flight meal on Wednesday. Yay! The aircraft was flying from Norway's capital, Oslo, to Malaga in Spain, but had to divert to Copenhagen, Denmark, instead. The diversion was in line with company procedures as the furry stowaway posed a safety risk, airline spokesperson Øystein Schmidt told the AFP news agency. Passengers on the flight were later flown to Malaga on a different aircraft. Airlines usually have strict restrictions involving rodents on board planes in order to prevent electrical wiring being chewed through. This is something that happens extremely rarely, Mr. Schmidt said. We have established procedures for such situations, which also include a review with our suppliers to ensure this does not happen again. Jarl Borestad experienced the incident firsthand, telling the BBC News Channel in a recorded video that the mouse escaped from the box of food that the woman sat next to him on the flight was opening. A surprise! Hey! Hey! Mr. Borestad said the situation was very calm and that people were not stressed at all. However, he admitted that he did put his socks over his trousers so the mouse did not crawl up his legs. That would be a little disturbing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, put his bicycle clips on.
Mr. Borestad said that while the flight was diverted, it only added a few extra hours to the journey. This is the second rodent-related travel incident in a week. I don't know. It doesn't say who. No, it does. A train service in southern England had to be terminated mid-journey after 2 squirrels boarded a carriage and one refused to get off. Squirrel!
What?
I don't know what its sexual life has to do with it, but there you go.
Excellent.
Oh, there's a squirrel. Thank you, Liz.
Excellent. Well, of course, they are quite right. Rodents seem to have an attraction for whatever it is you make electrical cable covers, the insulation around them, whether it's that or the slight magnetic field that electricity creates passing through a cable that makes them want to chew them. But I've had it in my house. You know, they've been up in the loft there, and they started chewing away, and all of a sudden the alarm system goes haywire, and that's what it turned out to be. The mice had got in there and were chewing at my wires. They do love it. So yeah, on an airplane it's a big danger because they can short those wires out very easily.
And on road vessels as well. It's a big issue in the RVing world.
Oh,
where
is that right?
Rodents want to find a nice warm place to sleep overnight and whatever, and then they get in there and they go, oh look, like a little snack here. We got a bunch of wires that we can chew on, and it's I've heard people have major issues with, especially in the engine compartment, chewing up some of the wires up there. That's just no good.
Yeah.
Oh, Neil has a comment. Hey, Neil. In our live audience, the airline food must be bad even if the mouse runs away. Well, the mouse never even had a chance at that darn, at those wires, did it? For the meal.
No.
Well, it didn't say whether or not the food inside the box had been consumed,
No,
did it?
and they didn't say whether they found the mouse afterwards, but
no, it didn't.
If they have to, what they normally do is just defumigate the whole airplane, so the poor mouse ends up being gassed. But that's if they can't find it anywhere.
Yeah. That you don't really want to do that, because then you know what a dead
mouse
rodent smell is. It's no good. Okay. Oh wow, Tim Van Ram says, yeah, he can identify with the old RV thing. My record is 27 mice killed in my RV. Hopefully not all at the same time. Hope that's over a period of years.
Good Lord.
So Tim, is that because it where you park it, it sits in a certain area for a while, and then these rodents, when it gets cold outside, they decide to make a home in your home, your temporary home? I guess maybe we'll wait for him to respond, see what his answer is there.
Well, it would be a shame if they're all in one family, wouldn't it?
They're a pretty big family, but I guess, they procreate
breed
rather rapidly, don't
yes,
they?
Yes, they do.
Let's see. We're still waiting for him to type. I'm hoping he's typing away, because it should be right about now we're going to get the answer. It's about 25 seconds or so. Yeah, he's worried about his RV. He's going out there to check and make sure there aren't any in there right now. Yeah, okay. Well, if he answers us at a later point, we'll let you know what his answer was. In the meantime, though, I think it's time for us to get to know us. Time of the show where we get to learn what everybody's been up to between shows. And Tim has gotten back with us now. It was in a storage yard near open space, no longer parked there. So what I'm thinking is, because my road vessel, my RV, is my house and my car, I'm constantly moving this thing and hardly ever, in fact, I've been here in this spot now, I guess, for 2 days, going on 2.5 days. It's been sitting here on my campsite in Pensacola Beach, Florida, for a while, and it's been a while since it's been in one place without being moved. But I'm not too worried about rodents right here on the beach. But I guess, do they have rodents on the beach? I don't know.
Well, they usually have crabs on the beach.
Yeah, a crab. I think that I'm going to be okay. I mean, trust me, I don't want to have crabs.
Don't we?
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, right. Okay. So here I am in Pensacola Beach. Yes, ma'am? You wanted me to do something else? Something different? Okay. And so you may have seen the crew log that I put out and some posts that Liz has made and I've made over the past several days, trying to keep everybody apprised as to, what's happening with the APG and the recording schedule and Jeff and the Road Vessel Studio and all of that. And so I'm sure that, well, I know all of you listening here in the United States, and perhaps some of you listening around the world, had heard that we had a tropical system end up making landfall on Thursday evening last week, Hurricane Helene, and it tracked up pretty quickly up through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, and even into Virginia. At least the effects of the storm got up that far, and by that point, it was not really the winds that were the issue. The water was quite an issue, and right now they're having all kinds of problems with flooding and just complete devastation around the Asheville, North Carolina area and surrounding areas. But anyway, as the storm was being tracked by the meteorologists, many people that know me and love me were concerned that I was staying in a campground to the northeast of Atlanta and pretty much right on the track of the storm, and perhaps maybe even a little bit east of the track, which is the absolute worst place to be on a cyclonic tropical storm here in the U.S., because that's where you're going to get the brunt of the wind and the brunt of the rain. And so I'm thinking, I should be fine. And I'm pretty high up in my campsite at Lake Lanier, the campground that I was staying in at the time. And then I was looking at these beautiful, huge trees all around in the campground. And I'm thinking, yeah, what if one of these trees falls down on this vehicle? And I'm wondering, if it will just completely crush it or at least, incapacitate it. But if it did actually fall directly on top of it, I could be a goner. So I'm thinking maybe a lot of people were encouraging me to leave before the storm came through. And so I went, okay, maybe. Yeah, that is the advantage of being mobile. You're right, Liz. So I decided, okay, maybe I'll heed everybody's, advice and get out of town. So on Friday morning pretty early, I thought, okay, on Thursday morning pretty early, I left and headed to Birmingham, actually just a little bit south of Birmingham, Alabama, Alabaster, to a Harvest Host location, a brewery, Siluria Brewing, I think, and was able to spend the night there. And then Armando, former full-time host at the PTUK, and still does some part-time hosting for them as well, noticed that I was, fleeing Atlanta, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Dothan, Alabama, for a couple of days over the weekend," and he said, "Why don't you come by?" And I went, "Oh, okay." So I had booked the Pensacola Beach vacation before all this storm stuff was in the news, and so my plan was to check in on Monday. And so I'm thinking, well, I'll just make a little detour and meet up with Armando in the Dothan, Alabama area. Armando flies private jets, and one of his clients lives here in not here, but in the Dothan, Alabama area. And they fly out of the Dothan Regional Airport, and it's a Hawker 800P, I believe, is the jet that he flies. And so, yeah, it was fun. There's a picture that Liz is showing of the two of us at the campsite in the area near Dothan, Alabama, and we had a good time. I did do something before I left Atlanta. You're right, Liz. So yeah, maybe I should just go ahead. Well, and let me just finish up that story. I did go into Dothan, and then I was able to get access to my campsite here in the Pensacola Beach RV Resort one day early, and so I drove down on Sunday after Mass and got here and was able to check in. So I've been here since Sunday, and we're recording the show now on Tuesday, the 1st of October. And so there, been beautiful weather down here, a little warm, but you're at the beach, so you're kind of expected to be that way. But as Liz is saying, I did have a meetup before I left town, and I can't remember what day that was. That like a Monday or a Tuesday? Early in the week, before the storm came into town in the Atlanta area. And I'm going to play the audio that I recorded, and that'll kind of fill in all the gaps, I believe. I am here in Buckhead, Atlanta, a very fashionable part of Atlanta. And I was contacted, just yesterday, I think? Yeah, that by this gentleman named Captain Pyzik. We call him Captain Craig, or just Craig, because he's a great part of our APG community for quite some time now. And so he said he was going to be here in Atlanta, and I said, well, I'm definitely going to drive my house down, and come and visit you, and let's go somewhere where there's some good beer, and turns out some good pizza as well. We're at the, what do they call this place? Blue Moon Pizza in Buckhead, Atlanta. So anyway, you hear from me all the time. You don't want to hear me anymore. Let's let you talk to Craig.
Hey, APG community. It's Captain Craig, First Officer Craig. First Lieutenant Craig, call me whatever you want, but just don't call me late for dinner. I'm flying for purple boxes right now, and on a reserve stretch, and got assigned a trip to Atlanta, and figured who better than to meet up with Captain Jeff and
damn right.
Catch up with him, see how he's doing, check out his mobile home, which is very nice, by the way, and very cool. I was telling him how my wife Ashley and I rented something similar on our honeymoon in New Zealand, and I think we'd like to enjoy that, get RV maybe one day, but I don't know, we'll see. So, yeah, the beers were good, the pizza was great, and company's always the best thing, and it's good to see you, Captain Jeff.
Well, thank you, Craig. All my pleasure, and that's the best part of doing this whole podcasting thing is just getting to meet new people, make new friends, and share good times together. So great that you reached out to me, and I was able to come down, and hope to do it again many times in the future. All right, so you need to send it back to the studio.
Back to the studio.
There we go. Pretty fancy there, huh? So it was great seeing Craig. Well, that was not
Full Moon. Is that
was a restaurant that Armando and I went to.
Ah.
Yeah, Full Moon Barbecue in Dothan, Alabama, which I give it a thumbs down.
Oh dear.
Yeah, Blue Moon Pizza was where we were when we just recorded that audio.
Did you drink Blue Moon beer at Blue Moon Pizza?
I did not. We both drank some good IPA. I just don't remember exactly what brewery at this time, but it was on tap, and it was very delicious, and the pizza was wonderful here at the Blue Moon Cafe or Blue Moon Pizza in Buckhead, Atlanta. There we go.
Cool.
Okay, Captain Nick. So, yeah, you weren't with us the last episode, right?
No, I wasn't. I was on holiday, which turned out
But we did hear
rather...
from you during the show, though.
Yes, I did record a little bit and uploaded it. So you played that, I think, on the video. And it was after that, in fact, I think it was that night. This was us packing the car, and so the dogs are in the boot. So that's us heading off. Anyway, Jilly booked it. I wanted it's my 70th birthday, and she said, "Where would you like to do?" I said, "I'd love to do a cruise." So we ended up in a hotel in Cornwall instead, because apparently all the cruise liners were fully booked. So Jilly does not like the idea of cruising. She's never been on a cruise liner. I thought this might change her mind, but she's very set in her ways. But she did find us a wonderful set of apartments at a place called Watergate Bay. And these apartments are kind of overlooking the beach, and they're in a little independent unit. And you've got your own little staff member there who looks after the place, and they've got afternoon tea and breakfast stuff always laid out, so, and coffee on tap and all that kind of stuff. So drinks are on tap, and there's even an honesty bar. Wow. So they're very, very nice and very well laid out. Anyway, if you just look at the scene behind me that I've been playing the whole show, you'll see what the view was like out of our window, because that was a little bit of video I took on one of the mornings when we were awake nice and early, and that was dawn over Watergate Bay, and it was absolutely gorgeous. There are some surfers out there already. In fact, Jilly was out there somewhere walking the dog. I say the dog because the half the fun of the holiday very soon disappeared, because Rugger there, our old fella, he's 11 and a half, fell ill, and the next morning we wheeled him down as soon as we could to a local vet, and they weren't able to work out exactly what was wrong, but said he was in an awful lot of pain. So they suggested we leave him with them while they try and investigate, and that turned into an overnight stay at another veterinary area that had the facilities to look after your animals overnight. And they did lots and lots of tests, and then said, well, we need to ship him off to another bigger facility now.
Sorry.
What?
Oh, I see
Oh,
Julie.
yes.
Well, your head's in the
Sorry,
way now.
Yes.
Sorry.
Jilly was just
Didn't mean
walking
to
behind me on the
interrupt.
video. I turned around to see where my wife was. So it began a whole saga of lots of tests and lots of ideas as to what might be causing the problem. Anyway, eventually Rugger had not eaten for 5 days. Our holiday was coming to an end anyway, so we just decided to spring him from the vets and take him home and get him into our vet at home. They weren't happy with that, because they said, well, we've done a CT scan now, which was only another £1,500, and we're waiting for the detailed results from the people who do the scan assessments, and it might be a blockage in his gut, so we want you to leave him with us. And we said, nah, we're going to take him home, and you can phone the results to us while we're on the road, and if needs be, I know an overnight hospital, a veterinary hospital in Winchester, and they're all keyed up. I will pull in there, and they can take him off our hands and operate if necessary. So we had it all set up that if the worst news happened, we would get him treated that night anyway. But we just wanted to get him home, which we did. As we went past Winchester, they had already called us to say there was no blockage, he's fine. We can see nothing there that's causing the problem. But the poor lad had been on very strong painkillers, methadone, for several days, and was just pining away. So when we got him home, within 12 hours he'd started eating again, and now a week later he is back to his old self. He hasn't grown all his fur back, because when they do an ultrasound they have to put the ultrasound sensor on the skin. He had such thick fur that they had to slice away all his belly fur, which was such a shame. Anyway, that was a rather stressful holiday, as it turned out. Rather expensive as well, and rather short. But the few days we did spend on the beach were absolutely delightful. It was lovely down there. I loved watching the surfers out there because it's quite a surf centre. Cornwall does have some fantastic seas, very good at surfing. And I was down there taking pictures of the surfers doing their thing. It was actually quite amusing in some cases, and some nice restaurants and things. So we had a ball down there. Just it was a shame that we had to one, cut it short, and two, it was so stressful trying to look after our poor sick animal instead of sitting, kicking back, and relaxing and enjoying the holiday. But there you go. We'll try again another day.
Yeah, that's a shame that he ended up getting a little ill while you were there. I guess the water, beautiful water, by the way, in those shots. I guess all the surfers that I see are wearing wetsuits. It must be kind of chilly, the water there, huh?
Well, it's about 16 degrees, so
okay.
You can. There were some surfers with just a bathing suit. But if you wanted to be out there for any length of time, I think a wetsuit was more or less essential, yeah.
61 degrees Fahrenheit is very cold. I mean, even I remember out in the Pacific in Southern California, I think the water was, I could, correct me if I'm wrong, dear listener, but I think I recall it being about 68, and that was still really, really cold.
Well, in the Air Force, if the sea temperature in our play area where we used to fly went to below 10 degrees, that's when we had to wear immersion suits, which was the big thick waterproof flying suit in case we ejected. Yeah, exactly. In case we ejected over the water. But above 10 degrees, we could wear an ordinary flying suit. But so the survival people said you had about 2.5 minutes to get into your dinghy, otherwise you'd be in real trouble because your hands would start to freeze up, and then very shortly after you'd start suffering from hypothermia. So, yeah.
I did do the cover art for the last show.
Oh, that fantastic cover art! Yes.
Let me just tell you that Nick is pretty talented, but
thank you.
I'm a little embarrassed to say that I feel like my artistic talent and capabilities are just on a different level than Nick's. There we go. There's the 16:9, the title of the last episode, "The Unsightly Captain Jeff." Isn't that beautiful? That's that. I went with a monochromatic kind of a theme, and
I assumed you were following the lead of Kazimierz Malevich.
Exactly, he's one of my favorites.
Famously
he's my inspiration.
Painted the Black Square. In 1915 he did that. So.
Of course,
I can see where you get it from, Jeff.
Of course, the reason why I went with this it was because of the bad internet bandwidth that I was dealing with, and so I thought, well, to try to salvage things, I'll just turn off my camera, and so this is how I appeared on the video. Basically, nothing. I wasn't on the video for a good part of it, and that seemed to help. Oh, okay. Well, if you'll go to the next one, I've zoomed in a little bit. There we go. If you look really, really hard in the upper left-hand corner, you might be able to make out the APG logo. And it's kind of tough, though, because it's actually the same color as the background. So you might have a little trouble. So
it's like looking for a black cat in a coal hole.
Yes. Well, I said it's a monochromatic kind of style that I was going for here, so I didn't want to ruin it, And then on the opposite side, in the upper right-hand corner, is of course the numbers 632. Yeah.
Yeah, very good, very impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's gobsmacked. And no, honestly, I realized, oh man, I'm going to have to do the darn show art for this thing, and I'm just going to and then I think it was Liz that suggested I just do the blank, black artwork, and I went, perfect, that's what I'm going to do. I don't think she really thought that I was going to do it, but
no, it wasn't a cop out at all.
No,
I think it was very good. No,
this is
a lot
just
of
my
thought
way.
went into that. Yeah,
this is my way of just proving to you, Captain Nick, that I really rely immensely upon your art skills on the episode. Episode.
I'm more than happy to help out.
I'm wondering what Steph may have been doing since the last episode. I mean, if she were here, look,
good Lord,
she is here.
How about that?
She's like a pop-up shop.
Hi, how are you guys? Happy
Hi, Steph.
Tuesday. Yeah, good to see you guys. What have I been doing? Trying to figure out how to navigate the waterways to work last Thursday and Friday.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, with not a boat, but a vehicle, say a car.
Does that Jeep float well?
No, neither does my other car that actually has doors and a roof on it at the moment.
The one that's all electric and has like a whole bunch of batteries?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a good car to be in high waters.
No, not well. It did fine. It got me there. Got me back. So,
good.
But
I'd be afraid
everything
I'd
is
be electrocuted or something.
So, yeah, there was we had a little bit of a storm the end of last week. I don't remember what day did we do that recording. Was that Wednesday? I don't remember what happened.
Well, the
past
storm
2 weeks.
was Thursday, made landfall Thursday.
Right, but it didn't impact
night.
us until Friday. But Thursday we were dealing with a different storm, just kind of garden variety front came through, which is what really caused the compounding of all the problems for Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Northern Georgia, a lot of those places. I'm not sure if you talked about all this already, but obviously talking about Hurricane Helene and the aftermath thereof. Not too far from here, a lot of towns and communities dealing with just a lot of devastation and heartbreak and lots of property and sadly even lives wiped out. So it's going to be a long time rebuilding some of those areas. Fortunately, everybody that I know and love is safe and accounted for, and the vast majority with very minimal, if any, property loss or damage as well. So lots of folks still without power, without water. Nothing major at my house. My power stayed on the whole time. My power was off at work all last Friday, so had to figure out where to reschedule patients, but that's really a minor inconvenience more than anything. And my commute on Thursday morning I thought was actually worse than my commute on Friday, which was during the actual tropical storm event. There was just more rain falling. There was more flooding in the roads that morning. But yeah, lots of high winds. Power was out. But yeah, fortunately things here are pretty much back to normal. So that's good.
You made a really important point that a day or two before, or maybe both days, as this Helene is heading up into the Gulf of Mexico, there was another frontal system that was coming through.
A pretty strong one.
That was a huge producer of rain. And that's really one of the main reasons why I thought maybe it would be a good idea for me to leave, because the ground was just soaked. And then I'm thinking, okay, and now there's going to be more rain and more soaking, and then you're going to throw some wind in, and these big giant trees are probably going to not stand. They're probably going to fall. And that just causes all kinds of issues. So that's why I decided to leave.
Immediate next door neighbors had a big tree come down, but fortunately it had a good fall and did not hit anything of importance. It even missed the fence and any structures. But same thing, just ground soaked. Or soaked ground, big old tree, high winds.
Something related to the storm, and more importantly, the response, the disaster response. When I was out on my beach walk this morning, Pensacola Beach, I was listening to this other podcast. It's like an air talk podcast. Some air traffic controllers, pilots. Yeah. I don't know. It's just blah, 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 blah. No, I'm just kidding. It was really good. Opposing bases. And they had a guest host that they've had on before. And actually, they had him up there with them, not this past Oshkosh, but the previous one, Bravo Kilo. He's also a controller. And they had him on because he has started an organization called, let me see, I'm looking at the webpage now, Operation Airdrop.
Airdrop,
and he was on the show just to talk about the incredible, disaster up in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and a little bit of Virginia as well. Mostly North Carolina, though, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was really, really fascinating to listen to the fact that general aviation really has been playing a big role in providing supplies, and relief for the folks up there.
I was gonna say, for folks who don't know or who haven't been seeing a lot of the news, or maybe just don't realize because they're not from this part of the country, it's all high terrain, so it's not not a common thing to have to deal with for them, but basically, due to the amount of rain and landslides and flooding, a lot of these small towns in the mountains have basically become islands. All of the roads to from them have been washed away, and the only way in sometimes is the local general aviation airport. So there's been this huge, basically just grassroots movement of local pilots, which has been awesome. And I think the one that you referenced is staging out of Concord, which is just north of Charlotte. But a lot of local airports are kind of putting together and marshaling all their resources to have private pilots, folks with their own aircraft, basically ferrying whatever they can fit and hold weight and balance wise, dry goods, water, other supplies that people need just to survive. To these small towns, which basically have no road access at the moment. So.
Right. And these general aviation pilots, not only fixed wing, but also general aviation helicopter pilots, who are actually picking up people and, getting them to safety. They're doing all this on their own time and their own dime. They're not getting reimbursement for any of this. They're just good citizens, and they're trying to help fellow humans. And so it's really, really amazing, the general aviation natural disaster response for this whole thing. Episode number is Opposing Bases 352. It was just recorded this morning. I'm not even sure if it's released yet. It may, if it is released, it was just recently, and I'm going to have a link to the episode in the show notes, and you can listen to their special segment there with Bravo Kilo regarding.
And I have the relevant links to the the verified places to donate to if folks are wanting to contribute in some way. They're taking donations in goods as well as monetary to help offset fuel costs, and I can supply those when we're done to share.
Very good. And even here in the email that I received from Opposing Bases, I'm a patron of theirs. I don't know why. I mean, I don't think they really need my money because they're getting all kinds of patrons over there at that I don't want to talk about it. It's depressing. Anyway, good for them. Good for them. They have a lot of patrons over there, getting a lot of financial support there at Opposing Bases. But as I said, we love them and they deserve it. But anyway, they put out this email that has all of several resources as far as links, HTTP links to if you want to get volunteer, be a ground volunteer. There's a link for that, how to donate supplies, as Steph was just saying, a link to Aerobridge, Operation Airdrop, Carolina Emergency Response Team, a lot of good resources there in the links that they sent out with their email regarding their published episode today. So
excellent.
Just wanted to talk about that as well. And that's all I have. And anything else going on, Steph, other than treading water and?
No, it wasn't. I was on the schedule to fly on Sunday, and actually the conditions were good enough for us that we managed a few loads of jumpers on Sunday. So that was good.
All right.
But yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, coffee fund, yeah. Okay. I think. Are you up for that, Captain Nick?
Oh yeah, I can sit through the plane tail and then
Okay.
I'll head off if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, let's do the coffee fund, Miss Liz. Oh, I have to push a button. Okay. Hang on.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Oh yeah, the Coffee Fund. It's your way, dear listener, to support the show financially if you have the financial resources to do so. And a couple of different ways to do it. One is the original method, which is what we call the classic Coffee Fund method, and a Coffee Fund Classic, yeah. We have a couple of contributors there, Philip Caruso and Stephen Pond, and that's for episode 633. And, oh yeah, I think in the contribution from Philip, he says, "Thank you all for a great podcast experience." Yes, thank you very much. And we're glad that we're providing a great experience for you, Philip. And we do appreciate the fact that you've contributed. The other way to contribute is to become a patron of the show via patreon.com/airlinepilotguy. You can designate a certain amount per episode, and you can stipulate a maximum amount that you'd want to be charged. But information about that is over there at airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. No new patrons this week. Oh well, there's hope. Always hope. Okay. So, I think now, since the old pilot, the old curmudgeon, is feeling a little tired and a little slightly under the weather, so we're going to go ahead and play his plane tale for this episode, and then he'll be back at the end of it to answer any and all questions that we might have regarding it. So we're going to go ahead and start that right now. This is RAF Form 414, volume 29? Yeah, wow, I can't believe it. All right, take it away, old pilot.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. RAF Form 414, Volume 29. The last few weeks of my service career were a blur of form signing, return of equipment, formal dinners, informal parties, speeches and gifts, all accompanied by feelings of regret and excitement as to what my future held. I flew my last flight in an F-3, leading a 3-ship over the Scottish Highlands, and then, after everyone had landed, I beat up the squadron low and fast. Then I planned to do a low, slow pass with a full burner pull-up into the vertical. The Tornado saved its last hiccup for that very moment, when one of the afterburners failed to light, and I fell ignominiously out of the maneuver. Having only made it to circuit height, I turned downwind to land, laughing at myself and thanking the gods of aviation that this would be my last time in the MRCA, Mother Riley's cardboard aeroplane. Little did I know. I had some leave coming to me, so having hung up my flying suit for the last time, I did some useful courses, like an RAF weight and balance course for truckies down at the Mecca of the RAF's transport aircraft Bryce Norton. Amongst the many examinations I needed to tackle were the dreaded Performance A and loading exams. I never had much of a head for maths, but a lot of this was just running through multiple graphs to get a result. Easy, huh? Some of the hardest I felt were navigation, metrology, and Morse code. For weeks, whenever I drove anywhere, I had a tape cassette of Morse code playing over and over again so that I might get up to speed on those dots and dashes. With my exam dates only a couple of months away, I felt that I needed some assistance, so booked myself into the Professional Pilot Study Centre for one of their cramming courses and took a nearby B&B room for a few weeks. This was a godsend, as with no distractions and in a class of equally motivated pilots, we filled our brains to capacity. At 39, I was by far the oldest there, but I made friends with a British Airways first officer who was upgrading his commercial license to an ATPL so he could be considered for a command. We studied a lot together and helped each other through the confusing bits. Sadly, I lost touch with him and often wonder how he got on. The exams were held at the headquarters of the Civil Aviation Authority at Gatwick Airport and consisted of 14 subjects taken over 2 days, all dovetailed to run from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, with 5 minutes or so to get from one classroom to another and a short lunch break. At that time, the exams were a box-ticking exercise, but one had to be very careful and not get tempted to guess at an answer, as a wrong answer accrued a negative score. Get too many wrong, and it would be easy to pull your score down from a pass mark to a failure. The answers had their own way of tempting you to tick and move on, when further down the list of possible correct options was one that might say, all of the above. Of the 14 exams, one could only afford to fail at a few, or you would be required to do a complete reset rather than just the ones you missed. I left Gatwick exhausted, but regardless, I headed north to Prestwick in Scotland, as I was now attending a British aerospace school to sit through a couple of weeks of study before taking the technical subjects on things I barely knew about, like propeller theory, piston engine operation, and the like. Then came something that I thought I would sail through, an instrument rating. Having only flown aircraft considered to have centerline thrust, I needed a rating on something that had asymmetric power, and ended up climbing into a dreadful PA-34 Piper Seneca twin prop. This machine rattled and bumped its way along, whether on the ground or in the air. But after 4 flights, I passed my 1179, a commercial type rating, day and night, followed 3 trips later by my attempt at an instrument rating test by a CAA examiner. Normally, the flying school had their own rating examiner, but she was sadly unwell, so they had borrowed an examiner from a competing school to fly with me. We set off and duly flew an airways segment down to the Isle of Man, whereupon he failed an engine and I entered a holding pattern on 1. A few times around, and it was time to fly an ILS, Instrument Landing System, into Ronald's Way, followed by a go-around, a few more bits and pieces before landing. As I sat to discuss the flight, I was given the wonderful news that I had failed my rating examination. Life is full of ups and downs, and this wasn't the first time I had failed a trip, but I was a bit surprised that the examiner had failed me for not flying an ILS in a manner appropriate for public transport. I considered myself a fairly experienced pilot, and had he said that I hadn't kept my speed within limits or had drifted off the ILS beam a little, I would know what to do in the future. But I had no idea how to fix this. It seemed a completely subjective assessment, which left me somewhat flabbergasted. After returning to Prestwick, we climbed back into the aircraft and took off for another ILS, which I flew like we had a cargo of eggs in the back. With a sniff, I was passed, but the retest cost me another £200 fee plus aircraft hire. I gather that the examiner didn't particularly like the Prestwick Flying School, and I'd probably been a bit of collateral damage from inter-school rivalry. But regardless, I'd done it. My exam results were arriving, and with each letter my spirits rose. Apart from that partial instrument rating pass, I got through everything else, occasionally by the skin of my teeth. My application went off, and on the 4th of August, I was the proud holder of a full-blown air transport pilot's license. All I needed now was a job, but that wasn't going to be quite as easy as I first thought. The United Kingdom was starting to show signs of recovery from the longest recession since the 1930s. Despite the Chancellor pushing billions into the economy, the pound had been devalued, earnings and productivity had been in freefall, interest rates were high, and unemployment at 10%. Airlines were dropping like flies, and not just in the UK. Pan American ceased operations, as did America West. Eastern filed for bankruptcy, and only months before, Dan Air, a UK airline that had started in 1953, was sold to British Airways for £1, who took only 20% of its employees, flooding the already overflowing pilot pool with hundreds of additional well-qualified and experienced airline pilots. It was into this market that I threw my hat, not just here but around the world as well. I kept a file on each airline that I hoped might take me, with a record of when I submitted my curriculum vitae, my CV, or resume, as you might say in the States. Into the file I added notes on the airline's history, fleets, chief pilot and fleet managers' names, and recent newsworthy events. If I called, I added a note with the names of those I spoke to, particularly the secretaries and PAs, as a personal touch with them might be just what I needed to get put through next time. And on each submission of my CV, I added a handwritten covering letter. Every week or 10 days, I refreshed my submissions and then followed up with a call to ensure that they had received it and ask about their current recruitment plans. When I addressed my correspondence, it was always to a named individual, preferably someone who I'd spoken to, so that my name might stay alive in their minds. Down at Gatwick, the employment centre there had a special desk run by a semi-retired, diminutive captain nicknamed the White Rabbit, who would always take a call and could advise as best he could on which airlines might start looking for pilots and who'd been lucky enough to find a job that week. His cheerful demeanour and promises of an upturn were always good to hear, but the bald facts remained. I was one of over 2,000 unemployed commercial pilots in the United Kingdom, and the weekly handful that might get an interview wasn't going to change that much. I'd signed on for unemployment pay and regularly went to the job centre, but being something of a specialist, I was always unqualified or overqualified for the sort of jobs available. But I attended every lecture and talk going, and took on board all the advice they had to offer. As a result, I treated my job hunting as my work. I started at 9 in the morning, checking the post and immediately replying to every letter I received from the myriad of airlines I was applying to, even if it was just to thank them for the news that they weren't currently recruiting and asking them if they could keep my information on file. Then I would review the papers and magazines for articles about airlines I'd applied to and put new cuttings into the appropriate file. When the weekly edition of Flight magazine arrived, I went straight to the back, where the airlines would post job adverts, but the few jobs I found there were for current, experienced, type-rated pilots. When money was becoming a real concern, I had to cancel my subscriptions and used to take myself off to the local library instead. I took an hour off for lunch and kept at it all afternoon, tinkering with my CV or reading my copy of Handling the Big Jets by D.P. Davies. I took weekends off to concentrate on the family and try to keep myself fit by walking and playing the odd game of golf. I kept to this routine, and it was a great help to keep me from wallowing in the fruitless task of banging my head against a brick wall. When I left the RAF, I chose to commute a large portion of my military pension into a lump sum of money, and it was this nest egg that was keeping us afloat. As the weeks drifted by, though, and nothing changed, I lay awake in the small hours, wondering what on earth I'd done, exchanging a secure life in the Air Force for this misery. I kept in touch with another pilot in the village, Noel, who had left the RAF a few months before me, and I heard with great excitement that he had found a job. He would have to commute down to Newcastle to fly Fokker Friendships for a new outfit for $18,000 a year. It was a pitiful wage for an experienced chap, and a fraction of what he'd been on in the RAF, but I was jealous of him. He had his foot in the door. The first snows had fallen, and we were wondering what we could afford to do for Christmas, when the phone rang. It was Jimmy D, the pilot flight commander on 43 Squadron, and an old friend from our Phantom days. He told me that someone in British Aerospace had just called him and tried to borrow one of his pilots to do some flying for them down at their factory at Wharton on the west coast near Liverpool. He wanted someone both Tornado and Hawk experienced, but Jimmy had nobody to spare. But then he thought of me. He gave me a number and the name of the director of flight operations there, and said it might be worth me giving him a ring. This was the first sniff of anything that might resemble a job that I'd had for 5 months, so it was with a tremble in my hand that I dialed the number. As the phone rang, I rolled my shoulders, straightened my back, and prepared myself. I'd get one shot at this. Chris Yo answered with a cheerful voice, and I explained who I was and that Jimmy had mentioned that I might be of use to him. He listened politely and then told me that he was still calling around his RAF contacts looking for someone who could be seconded to him for a while, but he took my details and then rang off. I had no idea what on earth I might be required to do, for how long, or even where, but at the time I was clutching at straws. Regardless, I knew I had to buy Jimmy a beer for giving me the nod, and little did I know, but a small but fascinating chapter in my flying career was about to start.
Oh, what a tease, Captain Nick.
To be
Here's cheers to
continued.
that beer that you had
Oh, yeah.
there.
I got
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers is my water.
Glad to see you're drinking water, actually.
Well, yeah, after my little brush with gastroenteritis that I've had over the last few days and all the sweats and things that brought, I'm just starting to feel a bit better, so...
I'm sorry, I should have muted myself before I did that.
That was in sympathy or empathy.
Yeah, very sympathetic. Extremely. Anyway, I've decided to do a few more of the RAF forms in a row there because I can almost knock my flying career on the head within a few. So it gives me something to concentrate on. But because you never know when I'm going to run out of things to say.
I think you'll never run out.
Not going to hold my breath on that one.
Until you run out of breath, we'll have to worry about it. Yeah, so it's so cool to be following this whole past of yours and feel like I'm right there. And, had a couple of questions. The slide, Liz, of the CAA airline transport pilot certificate. Yeah.
My license.
So it says underneath airline transport pilot's license, and then in parentheses, aeroplanes. Is there another category of airline transport pilot's license?
Yep, helicopters.
Oh, is that that's not considered an aeroplane?
No.
Well, there are aeroplanes and helicopters. It's a
Okay.
different
Well, see,
category. So
I'm just showing my ignorance, aren't I? Okay.
It's
And then
all right.
the one, Liz, of the people in line at the for unemployment. Yeah. So what? I tried to pick you out of that lineup there, but
I'm there.
Couldn't figure out where you were.
Can't
there.
you see me in my hat?
Yeah, he's the one looking directly at the camera about
I'm the one wearing
about midway down the line, the one looking directly at the camera.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yes, with his hand in his pocket. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that can't be him because he's taller than that.
Well, I'm just waiting for some free soup.
I actually had a question about if you still had that cassette tape of the Morse code. Was that your actual tape, or was that just when you?
No, sadly, I did have it until very recently, and then I looked in the drawer where I thought it was, but I could no longer find it. Yeah, maybe indeed, yes. But seriously, I wouldn't have anything to play it on now if I tried to play it. I mean, who's got a cassette player?
I have one.
Yeah.
And she's got a VHS
I also
player back
have
there.
my VHS and cathode ray tube TV back here.
Yeah, very good,
Stuff
very
loves the
retro.
old
Hang on to some
Old tech.
vintage
Right,
antiques.
too. Yeah,
That's why she likes us, Captain Nick, because we're old and antique-y. Yeah.
I mean, they just don't make things like they used to. So quality is hard to
analog.
come by. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a good.
I'm thinking that I'm so glad that I didn't have to learn Morse code to pass my airline transport pilot.
I got SOS
license.
I think.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I got that.
Dash.
All right. Well, KFC make good winglets. Oh, it's been a while since we've seen you in our live audience. I think there is an ATPL for balloons too.
Good Lord. Really?
Yay.
Makes sense. Later than air category.
I'm thinking that maybe he's joking.
The P doesn't stand for pilot; it stands for passenger. Air transport passenger license.
Oh, that's a good one that deserves this. Yep.
Yeah, I will, because I'm sweating my heart out here, and
I hope you feel better.
Feeling a little weary.
I'll feel better.
Yeah,
soon.
I'm sure I will. Give me a couple of days, I'll be right as rain. Lovely to see you all.
Okay.
Catch you
Take care,
later.
Nick. Cheers.
See you.
Think up some good show titles, please.
Okay. I'll take care of the show art again.
Oh, fair enough. Well, a white square this time.
Yeah, that's
Just kidding.
He's gonna go through a whole color palette theme for the next few shows.
Excellent.
That'll keep us going for a while.
Yeah. Have a good show. Cheers.
Bye. Yeah, let's do that. I think it might be a good idea. 1D, and that means I gotta. Yeah, I'm not gonna play the whole video, of course. Yeah. Okay, let me find that video. Oh, yeah, there we go. Open. And yeah, don't put it on the stage yet because I think it'll automatically start playing. I think that's a setting somewhere that needs to be ticked or something.
It needs to be set. A setting to be set.
A setting that needs to be set. Okay, so Mark Van Ram, the good-looking Van Ram brother, sent. I'm just kidding. They're all good-looking, all three of them. Of course, this was sent to Liz, not me, or the rest of the crew. But he says, Liz, new story on damaged planes by disgruntled student. Mark. Okay, so apparently there was a student pilot that was disgruntled for some reason, and he took it out on Not the humans in this flight school, but the poor airplanes. So let's see what this is about here. Crime beast.
Out to the Treasure Coast tonight, where police say a disgruntled student at a flight school intentionally damaged at least 10 airplanes there. But, Sarah Height tells us, it is not the damage to the aircraft that has the sheriff so concerned.
This is where the suspect was arrested Monday afternoon, just outside Martin County Airport. Police say the damage he did to at least 10 planes here could have led to a catastrophe. The sign on the door at Treasure Coast Flight Training lets everyone know they are temporarily closed.
They've grounded their entire fleet. The whole operation there is shut down because of what he's done.
He is this guy, 23-year-old Sumeb Singh. Police say he was a student at the flight school and showed up Monday expecting his first solo flight and went into a rage when he was told it wasn't happening.
Okay, this is some body cam, police body cam video. I don't think they have any video of him actually destroying or hurting the airplanes. Yeah, this is the aftermath. And there he is. He's about to be arrested. All right, hands behind your back, putting on the cuffs. Is there anything else, Liz, that is interesting about this? Okay, so it's inside of a hangar, and the police are there, their local sheriff, and they're arresting him and putting the handcuffs on him.
We'll do all that.
Anyway, so if you want to watch the entire video, you can do that by looking at the link in the show notes. So, interesting. So apparently he was upset because he was expecting to get his solo flight, and I'm just guessing, but the instructor probably thought, man, he's probably going to kill himself if I let him fly the airplane by himself. So for his safety and the safety of the general population, I'm not going to let him go in an airplane by himself yet. He's not ready. And apparently he didn't like that, that idea. Yeah, I took umbrage with that. Yeah.
I, a lot of things about that. So that's just really not someone that you ever want as PIC of an airplane. Someone who is not going to, who is so angered by something that's told to them or maybe doesn't go their way unexpectedly that they cause actual damage to property or more than that at some point. I don't know. It's gonna be hard for this guy to crawl his way back from this one.
I'm assuming, it may be a big assumption, that the reason why he's attending this flight school might be just for his own edification and pleasure flying and everything else, but I have a feeling that he's at this organized flight school to continue to get his ratings and eventually try to get, commercial work, professional pilot work, either corporate or airline or whatever. And I'm thinking, this is not going to be, this is going to be kind of a strike
mark on your
against
record.
him. Yeah, definitely a mark on the record, as you mentioned. Not really showing very good decision-making skills or airmanship.
Decision-making skills, control of your emotions or your, it's just, that's not compatible with being a pilot in any capacity, professional or private, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. In fact, I think this whole incident deserves this. Say goodbye to your flying career.
Yep, basically.
Okay. Oh, okay. Neil Lanwarn in our audience says, about an hour ago, in honor of APG, I spilt beer on my laptop. I think I mopped up everything, now upside down, hopefully dry inside. That is sad, Neil. But thank you for doing that in honor of APG, because we do that on occasion here.
We appreciate your continued solidarity with the show.
And, could it be, Neil, that you were hoping to upgrade said laptop computer and you're thinking, well, if I had some kind of a he's listening to us talk about all the flooding in the Carolinas. Anything in flooding. Oh, that might be a way for me to get a new machine. Yeah, we're on to you, man. It is a waste of beer. You could have used water, you know? Oh, well. Yeah, sorry to hear about the accident there. Condolences, yes, for sure. Okay. All right. Well, let's then hit the feedback bumper.
Captain, incoming message.
Okie dokie. We're going to start with this one from Shane. Let's see. Hi, Captain Jeff. I'm writing about episode 632 Z. Oh, I didn't know we had that many 632s.
26 of them at least.
Yeah.
Zulu?
Oh, no, I don't think that's it at all. I think it was just a mistype. Okay, so he's writing about 632, the TCAS in the 737. Okay, so the incident regarding the Alaska Air flight and the Southwest flight, and there was a runway incursion, and the Alaska flight had to initiate a rejected takeoff to keep from hitting the Southwest jet. Okay, so he says the TCAS in the 737 will not show aircraft that are weight on wheels. In the case of the Alaska flight in Nashville, neither Southwest or Alaska's TCAS would have shown the other aircraft. Good point. Thank you for your great show, Shane. And he is an Alaska 737 captain. So there you go. And you know, when I started thinking a little bit more about it, doing the editing, I kind of do remember that runway, that 13,
does it have a rise?
I mean, have you been to Nashville's airport, Steph?
I have, but only as a passenger.
Yeah, but even as a passenger, you probably notice it's not very flat.
You know, I wish I could say I remembered.
Okay. Well, if you
more
were in
clearly,
the
it's
cockpit,
been a few years since I've been to that airport, and I don't specifically recall.
There are a lot of. It's very hilly, and they built it on these and I think that it may have been kind of difficult to see anybody on that, you know, the first part of runway 13 rolling for takeoff. I mean, that's just to kind of give the Southwest guys kind of a break. You know, they may have been looking, it just couldn't. It may not have been possible for them to see the any airplane on the runway. Oh, and we have somebody else also sent us feedback about that incident. I'll go ahead and cover that, and then we can talk a lot about this a little bit more if you'd like, Steph. This is from Ernest. He says, I'm a new listener and really enjoy the show. I live in Nashville, and I wanted to tell you about Nashville ops. Runway 1331 is rarely used compared to the trio of the other runways, the 2/20s, 20 left, center, and right. And I recall that very thing. It was a very rare situation that we ever used 13 or 31 into Nashville. It's always the parallels. It's used mainly for weather, high winds from the northwest. And since it's the longest runway, flights that are heavily loaded and flying to the west coast, like Alaska to Seattle or Portland. The Southwest pilots probably were completely unaware any planes were using 13 because 20 center was the main takeoff runway at the time. Again, great show. Ernest Holiday. He said, just an av geek. Well, I mean, that's being an av geek is great.
Not just
and yeah. So yeah, go ahead, Steph.
No, that makes all good points there. You know, it's been, I was just thinking it's been 2 years since I've been to the Nashville airport, and I honestly don't remember I know that the area in general has plenty of hills and ups and downs and things, but I don't remember the airport environment very well, unfortunately. Been to too many airports. I don't know. They all run together.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah. But that's a good point. You know, if that's not a commonly used runway, and the majority of the traffic was being directed to use 20 center, then yeah, that's again just part of the situational awareness and, you know, not having that bit of information, maybe that runway was going to be in use.
And from what we know, And from what we know and the information that we've received so far, it sounds as if they were given a clearance to cross the runway. So it doesn't sound like any of the pilot crews are going to be charged with any errors here.
No.
So we'll, again, wait for the preliminary and final report on it if we have access to it. Okay, very good. Thanks for, I think one or both, maybe it was Shane was kind of apologizing for, making the correction or enhancement or whatever clarification. I said, no, absolutely not. I mean, that's why we have the APG community. I mean, it's half your show. That's the reason why we love our community, because they're going to listen to something and they're going to know better than we do about certain things. That's why we have the APG 50% guarantee. And I know you people are just trying to keep us above that 50% line.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah. All right. And actually, Steph, I'm going to tell them a little secret. Sometimes we purposely say things that we know aren't right, just so that our community will feel better about correcting us.
Or sometimes we'll purposefully talk about things that we know we don't know the answer to because it's learning for us as well.
Exactly. Well, that's true, actually. Mine was kind of a joking thing, but that's actually true what she just said. Okay. We have another video, don't we? Okay, hang on. Let me get that ready here. Yep, more and more videos. Let's see, remove that one from the studio and we'll present this. I should probably try lining up several of them to see if they fixed that issue with them not working once you have several waiting in this stage. Okay. Oh, I'm just thinking out loud. Okay. This is which one? Oh, here. Okay. I forgot to renumber those on my videos. Okay. Here we go. Do I need to read something first? No. Yes. Okay. This was sent to us from Mick in November Z, New Zealand. No, November Zulu or NZ. Did I do that right? Okay. Yeah, I need to ring the bell, don't I? Oh, wrong one.
That was better. That's the sound effect I would have picked.
People, we've had a lot of assassination attempts over here, and apparently I'm subject to that as well. Let's see. So Mick in New Zealand, he says, blew up. G'day, Jeff. What's gone on here, Mr. RV? I'm Mr. RV. Thank you. So what the heck is Mick talking about? So let's take a look at this. So we have a Air New Zealand, ATR 72-600 coming into land at Wellington. And probably, 100 feet off the ground at this point?
Yeah.
50, 40. Uh-oh, there is smoke.
Holy cow.
Coming from the number
Smoking.
one engine. And
my goodness.
a lot of smoke. And they touched down. Very nice landing. And they put the propellers in beta. Is that right, Steph? Is that what you call that?
Or reverse, even.
Reverse? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Plain old reverse. All right. They come to a stop pretty quickly. Very short landing roll. And they're looks like they're just staying in place for the moment.
Never seen that before.
Oh, the people filming said never seen that before. Or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Oh my goodness,
okay,
look at
now
this.
looks like they're shutting down the engines, and now that left engine is smoking quite a bit now. White smoke. Luckily, the winds are blowing from the nose to tail, so it's blowing all that smoke aft of the aircraft mostly. There's the fire brigade, which I think that was a pretty amazingly quick response.
Very quick.
So the fire truck is coming out. Another one coming into view. And airport vehicle or another control vehicle or whatever they call that. Several vehicles now.
Changed everything, isn't it?
And, okay, they're probably having... We don't have any of the communications from tower to the
incredible.
aircraft. But we do have communications of the people taking the video. I should probably shut up so we can hear what they're saying.
I think they were appropriately surprised and concerned.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. They speak New Zealandish.
Liz doesn't understand their accent.
Well, they're weird.
New Zealandish, is that what you said?
Saying. Oh, I should mention at this point that our website is being hosted by a Kiwi. Dan Faulkner.
So at this point, no more smoke, not a lot
more
happening, a lot of
Propellers not
observing,
Mm-hmm.
potentially.
I believe at some point, because I've watched this before.
Evacuate the
They do
aircraft.
evacuate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
probably... I can read the highlighted portion of the article here while we're watching this video if you'd like.
Yes,
it says September 6, 2024, ATSB reported during final approach at about 300 feet, there was a low oil pressure caution, then an engine fault and engine fire warning for the aircraft's left engine.
I'm sure the safety of the people on board is...
How rude of them to be talking
just
over you. Let me turn them down.
No, it's okay.
Okay, go ahead. Continue, Steph.
The crew declared a mayday, landed safely, and stopped on the runway. So it sounds like their mayday call actually came before they landed. So we were talking about the quick response of the fire crew there. Hopefully that had...
Did it say how soon before they landed?
Well, so on final approach at 300 feet is when they got the low oil pressure caution. So it was...
That's still pretty impressive.
It's very impressive, yeah. Airport emergency services attended promptly, as we saw. Passengers and crew were evacuated on the runway. No serious injuries reported.
That's what they're doing right now in the video. They're actually... No, yeah, it's not very far up for sure. So I think Captain Nick talked about this in a previous show that, or somebody did anyway, that aircraft that are a certain distance above the ground don't require slides because they're so close to the ground they could just jump out. Yeah, doesn't look like a big, maybe what, 3-4 feet drop?
It's not very, the drop's not very high, and it looks like there's actually, they have the door down on the left side of the aircraft, so there's stairs over there.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of passengers on there. No, I don't think anybody.
Nobody's carrying luggage,
so
or one person has a small. No. Well done.
I think they're very compliant people.
No carry-ons were evacuated.
Excellent. Okay. I just needed to scroll down a little bit more. I didn't realize that there was a whole article there.
Yeah. So the question was, what happened here? What is your take, Mr. RV /
Oh, well, because I'm an RV expert, I can definitely weigh in on this ATR 600 or ATR 72-600. I'm thinking that something went wrong with the left engine and caused it to get hot. and
probably had to do with the oil.
Yeah, probably because they got a low oil pressure caution light. So I'm thinking, wow, you're really sharp, Steph. That's probably.
I know.
Yeah.
Right? We're good at this aircraft investigation, incident assessment.
Yeah. Obviously, some kind of an oil-related problem, oil supply problem to the engine, and once you start losing oil pressure and things lubricating certain parts of the engine, it tends to warm up, and then sometimes it done catches on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why don't you do that, Liz? Show us a photo of you or the airplane. I thought you were talking about things that are hot, so I thought maybe you'd throw up a picture of yourself there. So there we go. That's from the passenger window on the left side of the aircraft under the wing, and really nice shot, vantage point of the engine and some flame coming from out the back of it. Or that might be maybe that's a sunset. I don't know. I'm not sure. Kind of does look like a sunset to me. But I'm pretty sure that's actually coming from the engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
We're experts here.
I think that
we
was
don't fool
that was
around.
a good assessment of
Thank you.
as much as we know about what happened and caused the issue. There was a oil pressure issue. Something got very hot. There was flame and smoke associated with that, and they performed an excellent landing.
Well,
there
I
was an
think-
emergency response. Everything was shut down, and nothing to see.
I think Mick already knew what had happened here. He said he asked us what happened here, but in his the subject title of his feedback, blew up.
Oh.
It done blew up.
It
That's
done
what
blew
happened.
up.
Yeah, he knew that. All right, shall we move on? Okay. Let's look at this number 4 here from no video. I know. Now there is a video that I'm going to have in the show notes, but I'm not going to play it on the show. Merle sent this in, and it has to do with an unqualified F-35 pilot at the controls during Utah National Guard Apache crash. Okay, so it's a pretty sophisticated Army helicopter, attack helicopter. Merle says, I'm not a pilot myself, so I'll put the question to the APG crew. Is 35 minutes in the simulator sufficient to teach a fixed-wing pilot to fly a high-performance helicopter? Well, the answer is obviously, yeah. I mean, that's way more than time than you need.
Jeff only needs like 30 minutes. So this was 5 minutes more than required.
I know. I mean, most of us only require 30 minutes. Yeah, that is crazy. That's just complete craziness. And no, this guy was up with an instructor, helicopter instructor pilot. But apparently the helicopter instructor guy just let him go a little bit too far, thinking that, oh, hey, this is a hotshot F-35 pilot. I mean, certainly he'd know how to fly a helicopter. What? I mean, I wouldn't know what to do if they put me in the cockpit of a helicopter. I mean, I have some idea, but I don't think it would be a good situation.
Mine probably wouldn't be sufficient to.
No. So this Utah National Guard AH-64D Apache helicopter crashed during an orientation flight. The helicopter was piloted by a colonel in the Air Force Reserve who was not qualified to fly the aircraft. The colonel, an F-35 fighter pilot, had only 35 minutes of experience in an Apache simulator before, and it was Microsoft Sim, I think. Let's see. I'm just kidding about that, by the way. It was a real Army Apache simulator before taking control of the real helicopter for a 90-minute flight. According to an investigative report obtained by Fox 13 News, the crash occurred when the colonel, unfamiliar with helicopter controls, attempted to hover and land the Apache at West Jordan Airport. Now, I think hovering is about the hardest thing that you can attempt to do in a helicopter, pretty sure. I've never been in one myself or at the controls of one, but that's what I've heard. I've read that. Investigators revealed that during the return to the airport, the colonel struggled to manage the helicopter, necessitating intervention by the accompanying chief warrant officer on 3 separate occasions. On the 4th attempt, the colonel panicked and reverted to his fixed-wing training, applying downward pressure inappropriate for a rotor wing aircraft. The Apache rotated and dropped approximately 10 feet to the ground before the chief warrant officer could regain control. And then we'll have a picture in our show notes of this, of the aftermath of this thing. And is that, I guess...
Looks like it's on its
Is it on
side.
its side or it's on its... Okay.
No,
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
not
on
good.
its side.
Yeah, okay, we're looking at the belly of the helicopter in this photo. Okay. The chief warrant officer sustained minor injuries, while the colonel suffered more serious but non-life-threatening injuries that required surgical intervention and rehabilitation. The investigation highlighted not only the colonel's lack of qualifications, but also the chief warrant officer's overconfidence and inadequate flight control management, which contributed to the crash. Furthermore, the report criticized the Utah National Guard's chain of command for failing to adequately enforce standard operating procedures, citing similar leadership failures in a 2022 incident involving 2 Utah National Guard helicopters that crashed at Snowbird Resort. We covered that one, actually.
We did,
I remember
yeah.
that. So anyway, they kind of really kind of slapped the organization of the Guard and, allowing them to do things that were against standard operating procedures, etc. Now, this question was posed to, and this is a really good YouTube channel you guys should subscribe to, the CW Lemoyne. His nickname is Mover. He has a channel on YouTube. What's it called? Is it called Fighter Pilot? What do you recall, Steph? What they?
I don't.
Or is it just called CW Lemoyne? Maybe we'll have the link to that in the show notes. But he dedicated an episode to this incident and talking. And I don't know if he's actually flown an F-35. Maybe he has, but I know that he's an F-22 guy, an F-16. He's flown all kinds of fighters. I'd be surprised if he didn't. CW Lemoyne. That's the name of the YouTube channel. Okay, so so we'll have a link to this particular YouTube video that he recorded regarding this, and he is as flabbergasted as we all are. Like, what? Like, why would you let him try to do that? I mean, it's like one of the most difficult things you could do in a helicopter, and I guess the chief master, what was it, chief warrant officer?
Chief warrant officer. Yeah.
Yeah, just I guess thought he had more helicopter skills, apparently.
It sounds like, I mean, I don't know how helicopter training proceeds from start to, through the basics and then more advanced helicopters, but it sounds like they were certainly rushing things.
Mm-hmm. They certainly were. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Good point, Liz. I'm just trying to feel how I'm going to do this, because I could just repeat exactly what you said.
No, just leave it. It's fine.
In the live audience, and then I'm thinking, no,
just leave them. Just leave them wondering.
In the audio podcast. So if you want to hear what she said, you'll have to listen to the audio only. Yes, you can, and I mean, I don't know why you aren't an aircraft investigator, Liz, because you have all the more qualifications than I have, apparently. Should I do this number 5? Yeah. Yeah. I will repeat what she just said. So we were discussing, where to go next with the feedback. We have a lot of feedback that we've been holding and carrying over and over and over again for quite a while. So, so we'll try to get through some of these. Yeah. Okay. So I'll preface this as I'm getting the video ready. That this is one that I'm pretty darn sure that we actually played this video quite a while ago. I mean, years ago. It's been around for quite a while. But on the other hand, it's pretty good. It makes a point that I've been making and we have been making on APG for quite some time, actually. But shortly after this whole thing regarding electronic devices on airplanes, for those of you who are younger and maybe just new to the aviation scene, it used to be where the cell phones that we all carry with us were not allowed, or if they were allowed, but they couldn't be on at all. And I was one of the proponents of the idea that these things weren't going to be a problem at all with our current modern aircraft. But there are a lot of people out there that disagreed with me. Some in a not so pleasant way, were really, really down on me for saying what I thought was the truth. And turns out that over time, I was right about the fact that, yeah, you can turn these things on all day long and it's not going to affect the airplane. Anyway, so here is I'm not sure if I don't think this is Saturday Night Live. I think it may have been Second City. One of the comedy troupes on television did this skit, and it's quite amusing. So let's go ahead and play a little bit of it anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare for takeoff, please turn off all electronic devices.
Why?
What's that?
Well, why do we have to turn off our electronic devices?
Because they can interfere with the plane's navigation.
Oh, okay.
So anyway...
How?
What's that?
How do they interfere with the plane's navigation?
Because the electronic signals can interfere with the signals between the plane and the radio tower on takeoff and landing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Let's all make sure that our seats are fully upright.
Wait. I mean, I get why I can't have a radio or whatever, but how's my Kindle gonna screw things up?
That's a good question.
It's not just about radios. All devices have an electromagnetic field that can interfere with the radio frequencies.
Okay, that's cool.
All right, please make sure that all tray tables are...
Wait, so you're saying that a $90 million aircraft can't ignore the signal from my $40 iPod Shuffle? That's weird.
She's right. That is weird.
Yeah, now I'm confused again.
If they're so dangerous, why do you allow devices on the plane and not, I don't know, gels?
Yeah, could I hold this plane hostage with my 3DS?
Some devices are more dangerous than others, but there isn't enough time to go through them one by one.
I mean, how come the plane doesn't interfere with my phone?
And why don't the other phones interfere with my phone?
I just always leave my phone on and nothing happens.
That's so true.
You can't! Everybody, no! All electronic devices have to be turned off.
I can't turn off my pacemaker.
Well, your pacemaker is fine.
Just opens up a whole new can of worms.
Airplanes are magic! Okay? No one knows why you have to turn off your phones, and you want to know why? Because no one knows how an airplane works! A couple of dumbos down in Kitty Hawk took some sticks and some old pants, and they glued them together, and they flew! And no one knows why.
I thought the wings generated lift.
Lift? Thrust? No. Scientists want you to think that they figured it out, but no one has ever figured it out, and now we're just rocketing through space on a 30-ton dumpster running on God knows what magic, and you guys want to just dick around with that? I mean, who knows what could f this shit up, okay? So turn off your Twitter machines for just 13 minutes while we soar through the clouds like the sun god Apollo and just read your f***ing sky malls. Okay?
Okay.
Fiery.
Now she's looking at the flight attendant
My
looking at her
sister is pregnant.
phone.
Everyone, please make sure your seatbelts are...
Yeah, so sorry about the language there. I forgot that there were some words.
Some salty,
that,
yeah.
Some salty language there. And you know how old it is. iPod Shuffle.
iPod Shuffle,
and
3DS, and Sky Mall. Listen, I used to love reading all of Sky Mall magazine.
Me too.
Cover to
I
cover.
loved it.
Yeah.
That's what I did when I was non-revving. You know,
I never
read the
purchased
Sky Mall.
anything, but just like looking
Oh,
all
I
the
did.
stuff from
I think I got a discount.
Sharper Image. You're like, yeah, what's this stuff?
Yeah. I was getting warm in here.
Oh,
it's getting close to 90. No. Let's keep going. We owe it to our wonderful audience. Okay, we'll do those two and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, here we go. So which one do we
6 and 7
go down to? Thanks. Oh, okay. The next ones. All right. This from Steve Simpson, downstairs bathrooms. Hi, Captain Jeff and crew. Many years ago, I flew Gatwick to Sanford on an Air Tours International A330-300. These had downstairs bathrooms. There was a small lounge there too, or lounge area there too. Air Tours International. Okay, we just thought it was Lufthansa, but apparently they weren't the only ones. Thank you for the best aviation podcast. Oh, thanks, Steve. Kind regards. Appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you for making sure we got that one in, Liz. And from, you know what? I'm not going to play the video. Actually, I don't think I actually downloaded it. But he did include a video. Jim Fulton says, thank you both. Thank you for sharing my feedback on episode 627. I understand Nick's point about the A340-600, being okay. He was talking about his trip. He flew both a A340-600 and a 747 8, I think, or I don't remember exactly, but anyway. So he was kind of telling us about his experience and what his opinion was. And he was saying that he thought that the 747 was actually quieter than the 340, which, of course, Nick took umbrage to. And then so he says, I understand Nick's point about the A340-600 being quieter in seat 0A, but we could definitely feel the noticeable difference sitting on both flights forward of the wing. Now, a confession here. I'm an Airbus fan, but the Queen really blew me away with its comfort despite both seats being the same design. I rue the fact that living near London, both BA and Virgin have retired the 747-400s, and I feel that they could have had a role for the high-capacity 747-8. I guess economics wins out, and the A350-1000 and forthcoming 777-9 will be the largest types at both airlines. Downstairs toilets, who knew? There's a YouTube link with more info here. So that's basically the title of the video that he included with his feedback. And this one talks about Lufthansa's A340-600 having toilets down in the cargo hold. So we'll have that in the show notes. And then he said, we have a fly/drive trip to the Southwest USA next year on a British Airways A350 flying into Phoenix. Your comments on the A350 are very encouraging, Nick. And then he says, a suggestion for Nick on an L1011 TriStar theme. How about a plain tale about the aftermath of Eastern 401 in 1972 and the theories about sightings of the deceased captain? It was the subject of a book published sometime later. Now, I'm a skeptic, like most people, but I understand the sightings were enough to have Eastern Airlines, and I believe other airlines, remove all recovered parts which were used on other TriStars. Hokum, you decide. Thanks again for all you folks do. Really brightens my commute. Jim Fulton. Thank you, Jim. And again, as I said, we'll have this in the show notes with the link to the YouTube video. Pretty interesting. Yeah, sure. Okay, let's continue on this last one here on a lighter note. This is from Mo, and he says, thank you. Thank you for addressing my feedback on episode 621. I'm always a little hesitant to send feedback because my thought is what could possibly be said other than congratulations or keep at it. But I was really blown away by how much time you spent on my feedback and Captain Jeff drawing a comparison between what he felt throughout training and how I feel during training makes me feel really good about myself. I feel honored with that comparison. Thank you, Captain Jeff, and thank you, Captain Nick, for the personal email as well. I greatly appreciate everyone's input. Thanks for a continuously great podcast. Regards, Mo. Thank you, Mo. That was very nice of you to thank us for how we covered your feedback. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other out. And we have a lot of our audience. Liz can tell you several times that she's enabled audience members, community members to get in touch with each other and help each other out in various ways. And it's just so heartwarming to me and to all of us here on the crew that happens. And you know, I've said it so many times, it's cliche, but you know, it's the community here that's the important thing. And we're just doing this podcast every week to kind of keep that community corralled a little bit, or at least informed as to what's going on with the other community members and that sort of thing. And we really count on you for, you know, giving us a reason to be here, because we have fun meeting with each other every week and talking aviation and maybe IPAs and other related things. And it's, thank you for giving us an excuse to get together and talk about aviation incidents and accidents and that kind of thing. It really means a lot to us. And we do appreciate you all. Wrap this baby up. All right, let's talk about our website, airlinepilotguy.com, where you can find information about the crew and the community, and we have merchandise, and we have a library, believe it or not, and more page dedicated to Captain Nick's, the old pilots' Plain Tales. More information about each one of those episodes there as well. You can actually subscribe to Plain Tales as a separate podcast if you like. I mean, if you don't like any of this hokum that we're blabbing about every week, you can just go directly to the good stuff.
Or if you need to listen to all of the RAF 44, or shoot, I forgot the form number, 441?
414.
414, shoot. I knew it was 4s and 1s in there. You want to listen to all of those in sequence, there's your link.
Yep, there you go. And that's basically the whole aviation history of our wonderful Captain Nick. And more to come, actually. So check that out, airlinepilotguy.com. You'll be glad you did. And speaking of that, we're also on social media. They're the Sochmeds, I like to say. So, Steph, can you tell us about that?
Just rolls off the tongue so much easier.
It's so much easier than
social media.
Sochmeds are awesome.
We got a couple options here. They're all up on the screen for you to see at the moment. The first would be facebook.com/airlinepilotguy, or head over to X. We are at APG Crew, and our individual handles are pinned to the top of that page. Instagram.com/APG Crew. I do think Nick still posts the artwork there for each week's show.
I think he does.
I
did not post.
Don't know that the most recent one that was such a just. I don't even have words
was just too
for
good
the
to
artwork
be posted on Instagram.
I
was afraid that people
last week
would see that and steal my creative ideas.
Your ideas, yeah. So, notwithstanding that one, you can see the rest. And you can join the live recordings or watch the previously recorded live shows on youtube.com/airlinepilotguy. And for an even deeper dive into the community, I would like to recommend Slack.
Easy for you to say.
I'm having trouble with that, with words right now too.
Me too. That shower sounds like all the other showers. Hello. Yep. Time to tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
It's okay. Just make sure you keep a towel wrapped around you. And I have the windows open, so I don't want to freak out the neighbors. All right, come over here. Tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Can you get me a roll of toilet paper?
No, we don't use that anymore here. Anyway, bidet. That's
what I was going to suggest. Yeah, bidet.
So thanks, Hillel, for telling us about Slack. And we'd also like to throw out a big thank you for the censor tone.
Are you censoring me?
I am, yeah. So I guess I could say we'd like to thank Piper for all the hard work that she did. Oh, here, this is what I meant to push, the applause button. Thank you so much, Liz, for all the work you do behind the scenes and all the notices and everything else she puts up. So it's more than a full-time job for Liz. So we do really appreciate it. Yeah. And anyway, anything else to say before we move on?
That's it. But Jeff, your bandwidth held up there.
I know. It's like
it was starting to waver a little there, and I thought, ooh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, we made it through a show.
We made it.
Awesome.
Yes.
And
Great.
so maybe things are looking up, and things will improve in the future. Anywho, thanks everybody for hanging out with us in the live audience and watching the video either after the fact or while we're recording live. And thank you for listening to our podcast, subscribing, reviewing, telling your friends, and all that stuff. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. I know that's the video thing. I don't know. It doesn't really matter for us. Anywho, with that, wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
All right.
Okay, we did it.
Only murders in the building tonight, Liz.
Yes,
I just thought about that.
Night.
It's Tuesday night. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're watching that show on.
I see. I watched some of,
Hulu.
I think, the first season,
Mhm.
and then I stopped for some reason. I think
Nick and
mostly because I
Jill are
don't have
getting into it now.
Hulu anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn off your
I've
recorder,
been off
Jeff.
and on with Hulu.
Yeah.
And yeah. I usually cancel it after they run through
Currently-
the season, and then I re-up for it, when it's
I'm
back.
currently unsubscribed from Hulu.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hulu.
Let's see,
Any title ideas from the chat room? I've got a couple. I'm not really thrilled with either of them. I've got Movies and Mice, because we were doing some movie reviews and we had the mouse running wild. Movies and Mice. I don't know. And then I've got
Okay.
I Can Fly That Copter.
Okay.
That's about all I got.
Okay.
Helicopter license.
Well, maybe some of our live audience can help. And I'm trying to turn off my Reaper, my DAW recorder, and it's like, I don't know if you can hear this. It's like
Oh.
Sounds like
every
a
button
clicking,
I'm pushing
like,
won't
click,
let me. It won't let me stop.
Oh, there's a good one. iHall Box that says orientation flight went sideways.
Oh.
Orientation flight gone
yeah.
sideways.
It really did.
Just read your effing SkyMall.
Well,
Just read
yeah.
your freaking SkyMall.
I do like that.
I do
have to
too.
say.
That would be my vote.
It's such a nostalgic one too. Like it just brings back all
and
those
Nick-
good memories.
And Nick
there's
would
gonna be
have a
some-
great time. He could use Sky Mall,
Ooh.
as the
That's a good
part
one,
of the
Neil.
artwork.
Are your missiles hung?
Do they have Sky Mall over there in Europe and England?
No, but
don't
we
think
can
so.
explain it to him.
Yeah.
Are your
Sure, that's
missiles
something
hung, or
similar.
are you just happy to see me?
Are your missiles hung? And if so,
Yeah.
how much?
Yeah. I think it really is like hung up, but anyway. I do like the Sky Mall one. Okay, thanks guys. I'll present those to our resident, not masterpiece creator, but our cover art.
Yeah, I have to make him feel like he's contributing something.
I know.
Not
Thanks.
everyone can be a genius when it comes to.
Thanks.
Well, yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. And congrats, Jeff. You may have cracked your nut, if you pardon the
Oh.
expression.
Ow. We'll talk about that off air.
Bye.
Post show.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Cheers.